Okay. Jesus was asked by his disciples regarding his second coming and the destruction of Jerusalem. And he numbered series of signs and series of events that had to precede his coming. But before every single series of event or every single sight and every single happening that had to occur, he uttered the words in verse 7 of Luke 21. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And listen to what he says. And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived. This is the first thing he says. And he goes down with a number of things that have to happen. Deception, according to Jesus Christ, will be the name of the last day's game in this world. And who is the father of lie? And the ultimate deception? Satan, yeah? We all agree with that? Satan is the father of lie. So every deception comes from him. Now, how much can we trust these days? I believe we live in the last days. How many people believe that? How many people believe Jesus is coming very soon? Very soon, but when I say very soon, within our lifetime. Okay, so we live in the last days. Deception is the name of the game. How many people believe that we've been deceived on a daily basis? The first time you start that TV, don't trust. The first time you start that radio, don't trust. Whatever they say, it might not be the truth. You know, it happened that recently, I don't believe in chance, I believe by providence. As I was flipping through the YouTube videos I wanted to watch, a video came across that was AI investigation by Sky News Australia. And I was very intrigued, and in the morning before preparing breakfast and preparing myself for work and Anthony for school and Christian to come with me, I said, let me listen. Let me listen while I'm doing the stuff. Let me listen what are they going to say. And I was surprised to realize how much AI has advanced in our lives. That the intelligence of AI is almost as close to the intelligence of Einstein. The deception that they can do through AI is more than you can believe. You can see Tom Cruise playing golf and telling you that this is him, and that's not him. That's somebody else who is manipulating, putting the mask of Tom Cruise. You can see Donald Trump saying stupid things. I'm not saying that he's saying many of the smart things, but that was very stupid what he said. And even Donald Trump wouldn't have said it. And indeed, that wasn't Donald Trump. That was somebody else. A lady is picking up the phone, and there is an unknown call coming to her mobile phone. And she hears a voice, and that's a real story. She hears a voice, and the voice tells her, your daughter has been kidnapped. You have to pay this much amount of money in order to get her released. And she can hear her daughter in the background screaming and crying for help, her voice. An AI scam. They can pick up your voice from your answering machine and transform it into a message that they want to hear. And that makes me thinking how true and how blessed we are to have the spirit of prophecy in our midst. Because Ellen White says, in the last days, God's chosen people should not trust their senses. Who knows that quote? You don't have to trust your senses. What you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste. You don't have to trust those things. The only thing what you have to trust is what? The Word of God. In the last days, it says that in Revelation 13, let me just read this for you. Verses 13 and 14, speaking about the second beast, the United States of America, that is doing the dictates of the first beast, the Roman power. It says something very interesting. And he, that beast, doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image of the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. And those deceptions will be so realistic. Ellen White says, even your eyes will be telling you, this is it. This is the Christ. This is the entity we were waiting for. But there will be a subtle difference from what this Christ or anybody in that respect is going to tell from what the Bible tells. It won't be a huge difference. It will be a subtle, tiny difference. And unless you know the Bible, you will be deceived. Why I'm saying all this is because I would like to deal with something which I perhaps think we have overlooked, and that is the subject of the 24 elders in Revelation. How many people know that there are 24 elders mentioned in Revelation? Now, the first thing we think about elder is an old person, yeah? Elder equals old. No, elder could mean a leader, a person in charge with responsibility. Revelation talks about these 24 individuals. And in Revelation 4 is that way, the place where we first see them. It says, and immediately I was in the Spirit. Now, everything what I'm telling you here, take it in context with the first slide we had, deception. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper, and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto emerald. And round about the throne there were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. Now, the first thing we see here is the throne room, the audience room of the universe, the throne room of God. And whom do we see first? We see a being sitting on a throne. That being had the look of a jasper. Now, jasper is a precious stone. It's a very interesting stone. It's got this sort of appearance. Now, what you see on the right is the actual realistic look of jasper. And the third picture is the sardine stone, which is, again, you've got that sort of reddish appearance. But the interesting part of that is that they are, just give me a second. I'm just trying to find my cursor here. Okay. Can you see it there on the screen? Is it somewhere? I can't see it. So they're isotropic. That's what I wanted to say. These stones are isotropic. So what happens when you direct a pure light upon them? They transform themselves and start shining with the lights, with the colors of the rainbow. They're amazing stones. So the Lord is light. So that's why you can try to imagine there is that being sitting. He is the purest light. He is emanating light from everywhere. There's a rainbow around that throne. Around that throne there are 24 thrones with beings sitting on them, which the Bible calls them the 24 elders. Now, what do we see on those people or those beings? We see they have crowns of gold, and they're dressed in what? In white raiment, yep? So not only that I believe that's their physical appearance, but also it's got a lot of prophetic symbolic prominence. The robe and the crown signify two things. What do they signify? From your knowledge as Bible students. What does a crown and what does a white robe signify? The white robe is the righteousness of Christ. How about the crown? You've been crowned because you are? I fought the fight, says Paul. I won. And from now on, it's waiting for me what? The crown of righteousness, which God himself shall put upon my head. I'm just paraphrasing. The crown is a symbol of victory. You have overcome, and that's why you have that golden crown. You have thrown away by God's help your filthy rags of your character and your righteousness, and now you have the righteousness of Christ in you, and that's why you're clothed accordingly in white linen. Now, what did they overcome? Because remember, this is what the 24 elders are wearing. Well, definitely they have overcome sin, they have overcome Satan, and that's why they dress the way they are. Now, who are they? That's the question. Who are they? And now the first person I was consulting was Uriah Smith. How many people know who Uriah Smith is? A prominent person, amazing author, an elder of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in their beginning. He is actually one of the people who wrote Daniel, the Thoughts on Daniel and Revelation, amazing book. I recommend to you to read it. And now what he says here in that same book, he says, who are these? And whence came they? It will be observed that they are clothed in white raiment. That's what we observed. And have on their heads crowns of gold, which are tokens both of a conflict completed and a victory gained. From this we conclude, he says, that they were once participants in the Christian warfare, once trod in common with all saints. This earthly pilgrimage, but have overcome, and for some good purpose, in advance of the great multitude of the redeemed, are wearing their victor's crown in the heavenly world. And he continues, these are some of those who came out of their graves. Now he explains how that happened. These are some of those who came out of their graves at the resurrection of Christ, and who are numbered with the illustrious multitude which he led up from the captivity of death's dark domain, when he ascended in triumph on high. Matthew records their resurrection, Paul their ascension, and John beholds them in heaven performing the sacred duties which they were raised up to accomplish. And he gives the corresponding verses to that. So according to Uriah Smith, those 24 elders have a heavenly or earthly origin. They're humans. That's what he says. They were humans. They were humans. They were prominent beings who were, at the time of the resurrection of Christ, being resurrected. Remember when Jesus died, there were massive earthquakes, the graves opened, and at the time of his resurrection on the first day, which is Sunday, the first day on the week, those dead bodies of those graves that were opened at his death, the people inside were resurrected and they came up. They came up. So Uriah Smith says, these are the guys. These are the people who composed the 24 elders. Why? Out of all these huge multitudes, there were 24 individuals selected. He does not know. Neither do we. But that's what he says. And I agreed. I agreed. Because there were a few buzzwords that were triggering my attention. White robes, crowns of gold. So therefore, they must be human beings. Now, I have to pay homage to our Sabbath school lesson, which was the last quarter's lesson. You could still find it out there in the foyer. And we had exactly that question addressed. And it said, that's lesson number 4 for July the 22nd, 2023, under the subtitle, Hope for the Sinners. Monday, that's the title of the lesson, Hope for the Sinners. The subtitle for Monday was the 24 elders. And our brethren were asking the question here, who is assisting Christ in his mediatorial work in heaven, and from where did they come? And they give certain verses. And as a result, they put a verse here from the Desire of Ages, a passage there, where it says, Christ arose, he brought from the grave a multitude of captives, those who came forth from the grave at Christ's resurrection. That's exactly what Uriah Smith was restating here. At Christ's resurrection were raised to everlasting life. They ascended with him as trophies of his victory over death and the grave. So again, by thinking on the surface, we would say amen to that. because the verses seem to be linking and making sense. There's only one little problem with the Bible study. If you're digging on the surface, you can't find the gems. Did you know that? In order to find the gems in the Bible, you have to dig deep. You have to go with the questions why, how, when, and what. And the Lord will answer. Now, the conclusion so far was made that these are human beings. They come from this earth, they fought the Christian fight, and they're up heaven assisting Jesus Christ in his mediatorial work. Is that how it is? Because, bear in mind, the note doesn't say, the note in yellow, that they're assisting. Our brethren are asking the question. By asking that question, they make the assumption that they are assisting Jesus. Straight away, I have a little warning red light in there that Jesus needs assisting in his mediatorial work. Who can assist the greatest mediator? You can confirm, you can agree with what he came into conclusion with his judgment, but to assist him? Does somebody need to assist God? Let's have a look. Let's continue on our search for truth. Are they humans, those 24 elders? In Revelation chapter 5, we continue and we see what happens to them and with them. I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne, so that's God, remember, God the Father, who looks like a jasper stone, a book written within and on the backside sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong, sorry, I'm going behind. Okay. Just give me a second. Yeah. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof?" So John sees this book sealed up. A massive angel, strong angel, asks the question, who can open it? And no man in heaven, they're humans in heaven, remember? Jesus took them up, plus we know at least Elijah, Enoch, and Moses are there. And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And what does John do? And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereupon. And one of the elders, now we're talking one of those 24 elders, said unto me, "Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, had prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals." John gets really panicking. He starts shaking because nobody can open that book. And one of those elders says to him, "Don't worry, don't weep, don't cry. Jesus, the Lamb of God, can open the book." Okay, let's have a look. Who is that? Now, Ellen White says something very interesting. This row was written, she is referring to exactly the same scenario here, what happened. This row is written within and without. John says, "I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon." Verse 4. The vision was presented to John, made its impression upon his mind. The destiny of every nation was contained in that book. John was distressed at the utter inability of any human being or angelic intelligence to read the words or even to look thereupon. His soul was wrought up to such a point of agony and suspense that, remember who was addressing him? one of the 24 elders. Now it says, one of the strong angels had compassion on him, and laying his hand on him, assuringly said, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, had prevailed to open the book. So exactly the same words. There's only one little substitution. And one of the elders in the Bible, the spirit of prophecy is one of the strong angels. Now, straight away there is something that doesn't make sense. How could that be? Can it be that Ellen White is wrong? Can it be that the spirit of prophecy doesn't make sense? Let's have a look. That's exactly what we had in the Bible, Revelation 5:5. One of the elders said unto me, weep not. One of the strong angels had compassion on him, laying his hand on him, assuredly said, weep not, etc. Let's have a look at another one. Now we're going to Revelation 7, where we're dealing with the 144,000 dilemma. And John sees them, he sees the great multitudes, he sees everything what's going on. And obviously he is having some questions. And in verse 13, we're told that one of the elders answered. That was a rhetorical question. It's more like a question, it's an answer that is a question at the same time. Saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence they came? And I said, John says to him, Sir, thou knowest. I don't know, you know. And he said to me, these are they which came out of great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. So the elder says to him, who are these, John? Those guys that are dressed in white robes? John said, I don't know, but you know. And he says to him, these are the ones who have come out from the great tribulation. This is the 144,000. Okay, who was that? Is there again similar thing that we can see here? The same pattern? Ellen White again writes, John beholds an innumerable company, precious, refined, purified around the throne of the majesty of heaven. The angel inquires of John, what are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And John answered, Sir, thou knowest. And we've got straight away the comparison verse there. One of the elders, Ellen White says this is an angel. Does it make any sense? Then she continues, the angel declares, and in the Bible verse it says, and he said to me, these are they which come out of great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. So the whole verse gets repeated with the one single difference. Instead of the angel, instead of one of the elders, and she both times substitutes that with the angel. Again, I'm asking the question, is the spirit of prophecy wrong? If Uriah Smith and our Sabbath school lesson confirmed that they were human beings, is the spirit of prophecy wrong that she says that they are not human beings, but angelic beings?
No, she's not wrong.
I don't believe the spirit of prophecy is wrong. I don't believe that. Because some people might say, well, the first statement you have given us, Stelios, is from manuscript releases that wasn't published in her lifetime. That was just some letter she wrote. But the second was Signs of the Times. That is a published work. And Ellen White says, if you want to know the will of God, read my published works. And if that published work corresponds with something that hasn't been published, well, I have to say amen to it. Or we have to discard it as an imposture. And again, another one, from the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. There are more statements. I didn't want to put the whole thing because I thought I was going to present this to you in the afternoon meeting, but I'm presenting it to you now. The Bible verse said there that one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes? And in verse 14, and again, he said unto me, these are they which came out of great tribulation, etc., etc., etc. Now, in number 1, Sermons and Talks, on page 20, we read again, John saw a company standing around the throne. And the angel asked him, "Who are these in white robes?" He answered, "Thou knowest." And the angel said, "These are they which have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb." For the third time we see that. What is the spirit of prophecy trying to tell us? Perhaps we have either misunderstood the Bible or she is wrong. Let's have a look. Now, let's see something else what those 24 elders are claiming to themselves for themselves. In Revelation chapter 5, verses 8 and 9, we read, "And when he had taken the book," that is the Lamb this time, takes the book from the Father, the four beasts. Now, what are these four beasts before we continue with the 24 elders? What are those four beasts for those who study their Bibles?
Full of eyes.
We've got four beasts that have been mentioned in two books in the Bible. One is the Revelation, and the second one is in Ezekiel. You know, when Ezekiel saw the vision of God, he saw those four beasts surrounding the chariot of God. They were looking like, one like an ox, one like a lion, one like an eagle, remember? And one like a human being. Ellen White says those four, the translation obviously is not correct. It's not beasts, beings. That's the translation means, four beings. Those four beings are the highest cherubims you can find in the universe. So they're close to God there. And after that come these 24 elders. So the four beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which were the prayers of the saints. And they sang a new song, saying, "Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain and hast redeemed us," that was our opening verse, "to God by thy blood of every kindred and tongue and people and nation." That expression is from everybody. Now, there was another buzzword that confused me. They had the white robes, they had the golden crowns, but they also confirmed that they were redeemed. They were redeemed. And on top of all that, we've got something that is telling us that they all have harps, golden harps, and when you are, by God's grace, redeemed, and you are with him in the paradise, you'll be given a golden harp. And also, they were having vials. What is a vial? This is an incense holder. You remember the priests? They had incense holders. They had vials full of incense, and they were spreading sweet fragrance before the curtain of the temple, of the most holy place. And it says that those golden vials full of odors are the prayers of the saints. So straight away we come to the assumption that these guys are interceding for some reason. That's why our brethren they're sort of helping Jesus in his mediation, because they've got those vials which are full of the prayers of the people on this planet. But the point that I want to concentrate now is that they say we have been redeemed. Now, let's start putting, I'm telling you, that's not a normal Bible, like a divine service thing. We're discussing here things. They have been redeemed, which means they have been instrumental, one way or another, in the plan of redemption, either objectively or subjectively. They've been either on the receiving part or on the giving part. Now, what is the plan of redemption consistent of? When does the plan of redemption get activated?
The Garden of Eden. Before the fall.
When there is sin.
When they commit sin.
If there is sin, there has to be a plan of redemption. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
If there is sin, there has to be a savior. And if there is a sinner, there has to be somebody to die for that sinner. And that's why we've got here different synonymous words for redemption, that is forgiveness, remission, purging, cleansing, atonement, purification, deliverance, liberty. They all belong to the plan of redemption, and explain the plan of redemption one way or another. Now, the main ingredient of the plan of redemption is this. In Hebrews chapter 9, verse 22, we're told, and almost all things are by the law purged with blood. So purged means cleansed. And without shedding of blood, there is no remission. There is no plan of redemption. There is no forgiveness. Only blood can forgive sin. Blood of what? You know, when humans fell, there were angels lining up in front of God. Do you know that? Angels were prostrating in front of God saying, please God, can I be sacrificed for these guilty people? Do you know that? Yeah. Many angels. They line up around the throne and they beg God to make them sacrificial. God said, no. Your blood, your life cannot suffice the requirements of the law. Only I have to die. Only my blood is sufficient. And that's why Jesus volunteered and came and spilled his blood, because without blood, spilling of blood, there's no remission. The plan of redemption will be useless. Now I'm thinking about this. Was the plan of redemption only for this planet? You know, Ellen White found something very interesting given to her by God. She saw different entities, different civilizations living not on this planet, thrown out or spread around the whole universe. And she says the inhabitants of the place, she went to one of those places, were of all sizes. They were noble, majestic, and lovely. They bore the express image of Jesus, and their countenances beamed with holy joy, expressive of the freedom and happiness of the place. I asked one of them why they were so much more lovely than those on earth. The reply was, we have lived in strict obedience with the commandments of God and have not fallen by disobedience like those on earth. Now tell me, what would have happened if those guys have fallen by disobedience like us? Well, Jesus would have died for them. Then the plan of redemption will be activated for those people, for those beings. Now I'm thinking, if we're thinking in those lines of thought, did the angels have to be redeemed? Because we read there, the angel said unto me, the angel answered to John. Well, listen to what she says about Satan in first spiritual gifts. After Satan was shut out of heaven, so that's after. And you know, in the plan of redemption, there's a period that is called the time of probation. We are still under that. Very soon that time will close. For the angels, there was a time of probation. But once there was war in heaven, and Satan and his angels were thrown down to this earth, the probation closed. So after that, after they were shut out of heaven, him and his angels, those who fell with him, he realized, Satan, that he had lost all the purity and glory of heaven forever. Then he repented and wished to be reinstated again in heaven. He was willing to take his proper place or any place that might be assigned to him. Anything, God, just to come back. But why he couldn't? It was after his close of probation. And she continues by saying, but he was lost beyond redemption for his presumptuous rebellion. I'm wondering what's going to happen if after the close of probation on this earth, somebody wakes up and says, but I want to be saved. Will they be saved? No, because they will be realizing their problem beyond the probation, after the probation has closed. So that statement is telling me that there was once upon a time, there was a time in heaven when the angels had the chance to return to God. Did you know that? Including Satan. Okay, it gets even more interesting. How many of the angels fell with Satan?
1/3.
That's what we know from the Bible. he managed, in Revelation 12, he managed to sweep down to the earth 1/3 of the stars of heaven. And it says, the same actually it says in the Spirit of Prophecy, 5 testimony. When Satan became dissatisfied in heaven, he did not lay his complaint before God and Christ. He didn't go directly, but many times as we do, but he went among the angels. The result of this misrepresentation was that through their sympathy with him, 1/3 of the angels lost their innocence, their high estate, and their happy home. 1/3. That's a lot of angels. But listen to this. Listen to this. Were they 1/3 in the beginning? All the heavenly hosts were summoned. Now, the Lord wants to reason with Satan and his angels. He wants to reason. He says, angels, come. I want to talk to you. And he gets them around his throne. All heavenly hosts, everything, that's billions upon billions of heavenly beings, was summoned to appear before the Father to have each case determined. Satan unblushingly made known his dissatisfaction that Christ should be preferred before him. That was the great controversy, and it is the great controversy today. God informed Satan that to his son alone he would reveal his secret purposes, and he required all the family in heaven, even Satan, to yield to him implicit, unquestioned obedience to Jesus Christ. And he continues, the Spirit of Prophet continues here. But that he, Satan, had proved himself unworthy a place in heaven. Then Satan exultingly pointed to his sympathizers, comprising of how much? Comprising of nearly half. Nearly 1/2. And he said, hey, God, half of your heaven is with me. Would you take them down as well? Would you empty the whole heaven? Now, what happened? What happened? In the beginning, they were almost half. At the close, they were 1/3. Half of that. Almost half of that. What happened with the other half? Well, that tells me, just put your thinking caps on. If in the beginning they were almost half, and when Satan was kicked out of heaven, they were just 1/3, half of that number obviously repented and went back to God while there was still time. That's amazing. Amazing to know something like this must have happened. And you remember the verse here was saying in manuscript releases, the first thing we read, one of the strong angels, that is one of those 24 elders. So they are obviously beings with prominence. One of the strong angels. Now, what is a strong angel? It says in the Spirit of Prophecy, when Jesus was resurrected, there were 2 angels flying down to sort of help him with the resurrection. Not to help him, but just to support him, to assist him. And it says, one of the mighty, commanding angels who was with his company being keeping watch over the tomb of his master, joined the powerful angel who comes from heaven, and together they advanced directly to the sepulchre. The angelic commander laid hold of the great stone, and she basically rolled it down like a pebble. But a strong angel means a commanding angel. You know, in heaven there's a hierarchy. You got different beings, different angelic beings. And it tells us here, when Satan was doing his attempts, it says the angels were marshaled in companies, each with a higher commanding angels. And also when the Spirit of Prophecy talks about even their physical appearance, it says that when Jesus is going to be in heaven, standing next to all the redeemed, he's going to be a head much taller than everybody else. After that, you follow by the commanding angels. They are tall beings. And after is the rest, and after the human beings. And we apparently have to grow. But a strong angel means a commanding, mighty angel. Somebody who is in charge. And when Jesus was actually taken in the Garden of Gethsemane, it says that many companies of holy angels, with each a tall commanding angel they had, was sent to witness the scene. They were to record every act, every insult, everything. Now, I'm starting to understand why the spirit of prophecy was talking about angels here, not about human beings. And perhaps Uriah Smith didn't have the light, but it's not an excuse for us who live in the last days and have the writings of Ellen White to put something like this in our lesson pamphlets. Now, what is the problem? Oh, you say, what's the big deal, Stelios? You're making a mountain out of a molehill. What is the big deal if it's an angel, if it's not an angel? What is the problem? It might be a big problem, actually. It might be a big problem. Why? Because there is something which we read, that these angels, as our people came to conclusion, are assisting Jesus in his mediatorial work. They are offering the prayers of you and me before. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Only God offers the prayers. He says, my blood, Father, forgive him once more, please, because of me. Only him. Not even angels can do that. Now, what is the problem? See, the problem is called something which the Catholics have entitled the invocation of saints. Asking the saints for assistance in temporal or spiritual need. Its basis is the intimate communion that exists between the blessed in heaven and the faithful on earth. And maybe you'll say, well, that's nothing to do with us, because we don't believe in the immortality of the soul. We don't believe that after my good grandfather, who has been a reformer, is in heaven, he is now alive. We don't believe that. We don't. And Satan don't want you to, because he knows that you will never believe that. But he wants to do something else. And the spirit of prophecy tells us, and that's my last thing. It says the worship of images and relics, the invocation of saints, and the exaltation of the Pope are devices of Satan. Why? That's question mark. All these things, the numbers and the question mark is my stuff. Why are they devices of Satan? How come the worship of images, the invocation of saints, and the exaltation of the Pope are devices of Satan? We don't believe in none of those things. We don't believe in images. We don't believe in saints looking at us from above. We don't believe in the Pope. But she continues, to attract the minds of the people from God and from his Son, to accomplish their ruin. That's not for the Catholics, that's for us. He endeavors to turn, now this is the crack of the matter, he endeavors to turn their attention from him through whom alone they can find salvation. You don't believe in immortality, but the moment I start believing that this guy is going to help Jesus to make my prayer more acceptable before God, I'm in trouble. Everything starts with one tiny little drop of deception. One tiny. And these are the three. These are the three entering wedges that the Catholic Church is going to enter into the Reform movement, into the Adventist circles. And so far, I haven't seen anybody who has come with the conclusion that these 24 beings are not human, apart from one man from Bulgaria. It's not me. It's another one. So may the Lord help us to be very careful. The last name of the game is deception. Let us always remember that. Amen.